Welcome to the Well-Seasoned Librarian podcast. I'm your host, Dean Jones. Joining me today for Season 14, Episode 6 is Prettyman, the creator and photographer behind the popular food blog Kalefornia Kravings. The San Diego native, Caitlin is known for easy-to-follow recipes that highlight the fresh, local ingredients of the California coast. Her work has graced the pages of Food & Wine magazine, TheFeedFeed, and So Yummy. We're diving into Caitlin's brand new cookbook, Fast and Fresh Cal-Mex Cooking, which hits shelves tomorrow. This exciting book puts a fresh spin on Tex-Mex cuisine, incorporating an array of nourishing vegetables, zesty herbs, mouth-watering salsas and sauces, and healthy proteins, all easy to make and bursting with flavor. Get ready to be whisked away as I chat with the wonderful Caitlin Prettyman. Welcome to the Well-Seasoned Librarian podcast. I'm your host, Dean Jones. Today, I'm speaking with blogger and author, Caitlin Prettyman. Caitlin, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Hey, so you're like me, you're from San Diego, California. Can we talk a little bit how that influenced your cooking and your love of food?
Oh, absolutely. Obviously, being from San Diego, we have amazing Mexican food here.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like anytime I go anywhere else, if I compare the Mexican food to San Diego, it's just not even a comparison.
No, not at all.
So that definitely has influenced a lot of my flavors and the types of ingredients that I use, but also just the fresh seafood that we have and all of the fresh local produce that we get all year round that a lot of other places don't get. I feel like just all of that together has really influenced everything that I do cooking wise.
I always like to ask my guests, do you have any food memories from when you were younger that influenced your love of cooking later on?
Honestly, my biggest memory, I guess I would just say I was always in the kitchen with my mom. My mom was a huge baker. She always made her famous brownies that had this really good like chocolate frosting on them. They were so good. And when I was little, I always got to stir and lick the spoon afterwards. So that was just my first memory of any type of cooking or baking. And when I actually first started doing all of this, I was really into baking because of that. And then that kind of slowly transitioned after a while into cooking because I feel like baking, it's more of a science. If you talk to any bakers, it's definitely more rigid. Whereas cooking, you could kind of be a little more free spirited and just kind of go with whatever you want to do. But yeah, definitely my mom inspired my love of cooking for sure.
I want to talk about your cookbook that's going to be coming out tomorrow. But first, I want to go back a little bit and talk about your blog, Kalefornia Kravings. How did you start the blog? What made you decide to start it?
Yeah, so it started as a hobby at first. I was working as a catering sales manager for a restaurant in San Diego. I kind of liked it, but after a while, it just really wasn't satisfying those like creative juices. So I don't know, I just randomly started it one day on Instagram and then started getting more of a following and started realizing that I actually really liked creating recipes and taking photos of the food and doing all of those things. And people started talking to me about making a website. So I started looking into that and just realized that I really loved taking photos of food. And I felt like that just was so weird, so different from anything that I had done before. So I quit my job. I took a photography class and a class about food blogging that was really just starting to come up at that time and just kind of went for it. And now I'm here and it's been a long journey, but it's been so rewarding at the same time.
So after your blog was established, did you get any feedback and did you start becoming known because of the blog? What was it like for you to have a blog and start getting feedback from a listening or reading audience?
Honestly, I was so nervous at first. Like when people would tell me, "Oh, I'm going to make your recipe," it was great. And I was so excited that they were actually interested in it. But at the same time, it was like that little voice inside of your head, like, I really hope they like this recipe. Like if they don't, then like, are they going to leave a bad review, leave a good review? Like, I don't know. So it was a lot of like learning how to take like the good with the bad, if that makes sense. And even now, like I feel like that's just the same now. Like you can't appeal to everyone's taste buds. They're all different, 80% of people are gonna like what you make, 20% of people aren't.
Yeah.
So It's just, you just kind of go with it and have fun with it. And that's just something I really had to learn at the beginning because it was a little rough at first whenever you get like that first bad review.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So tomorrow is a big day. Your book comes out tomorrow, Cal-Mex
Yes.
Cookbook. You've been
Yes.
putting a lot of work into this. It's been a long time coming. So how do you feel? It's coming out tomorrow. Are you nervous? What are the feelings about this?
I feel like I'm a mix of emotions, honestly. I'm so excited. It feels so surreal. Like even still just having it in my hands, it doesn't feel like it's actually real yet, but I am so excited. I'm so proud of it. It's been a long time working on it and I couldn't be more proud, honestly.
I really love this cookbook because it kind of highlights and defines Cal-Mex cooking. And I know that on your blog, I want to mention this for the listeners if they haven't read your blog, we're going to have links to the blog in the bio and links to the cookbook as well. But I want to say, like, you do a lot of different stuff in the blog. You don't just do Cal-Mex cookbook. How did you kind of think of this title and what was your approach to creating the book and pitching it to a publisher?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with my background, kind of like what we touched on earlier, being from San Diego and
Yeah.
being around all of that Mexican food and the fresh flavors and the fresh ingredients. I think that just really resonated with me. And I know a lot of my most popular recipes on my website are considered Cal-Mex. They have more Mexican flavors. They have really fresh ingredients. They're really easy to follow. So I knew I wanted to do something along those lines just because that's what I was most familiar with. And when I met with the publisher and kind of pitched that idea, I was really hoping they would go for it, but I wasn't sure. And they did some research and they decided to go with it. So we just turned that into a reality.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so glad you did this because we talk about this a lot on the show and also with other authors. I talk about this and how Mexican food definitely isn't a monolith. There's different types of regions. Even within Mexico,
Mhm.
there's different regions. And within the United States, we have Tex-Mex, of course. We've all heard a lot about that. And
Mhm.
we have, and then and you're kind of defining and kind of putting a name on Cal-Mex, which is wonderful. How do you
Mhm.
define Cal-Mex in relation to, say, traditional Mexican cooking and Tex-Mex?
Yeah, I think Cal-Mex is a relatively new term that's coming into the foodie scene, especially if you live in California. There are Mexican fusion restaurants popping up everywhere
Yeah.
now, or like higher end upscale Mexican restaurants. And I think that like the term Tex-Mex or even like some traditional Mexican food, it just has this like really heady connotation to it. There's a lot of cheese, there's a lot of carbs, lots of rice and beans, which is all great. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong,
Yeah.
But once you throw in like California cuisine, that just has more of like a healthy, fresh, vibrant feel to it. And if you live in California, you can just see the fusion of taking those like traditional Mexican dishes or flavors and just pairing them with the fresh local ingredients that you have. So everything's a little bit lighter, a little bit fresher, and I don't want to say a little bit healthier, but for some people it could be considered a little bit healthier. So that's kind of the difference I would say between Cal-Mex versus Tex-Mex and even like some traditional Mexican food. Even though I know there is some traditional Mexican food that is very light, like ceviche or things like
Yeah.
that. You know.
Oh, yes. I went to a restaurant the other day and it was definitely Cal-Mex. And, when I
Mm,
grew up, there was one type of Mexican food, and I'm dating myself by saying this, but it was a
mm,
plate and you had you always had the same thing. You had your main and then you had like the beans on the side covered with
mhm,
cheese. You had the rice and it was always one type of thing and it was presented as a monolith. It
mhm.
was pretty much ubiquitous restaurant to restaurant. And
Exactly.
now it's so much different. There's so much like different variety. Not all the restaurants are the same. I was at a place the other day and I had these beautiful tacos that
Mhm.
had a wonderful, each one had a different filling you could choose. And
Yeah,
they're authentic, but also new. It was kind of fresh
exactly.
combined with the authentic. And it had like microgreens on top. And it was
Mm.
amazing. And there was like a different salsa they had like a salsa sommelier, which sounds crazy, but was
Oh,
wonderful.
that sounds so
And
cool.
it was so good. And then like it was so nice and then fresh too. I don't feel like I was gonna die afterwards. It was nice,
Exactly.
enjoyable, but like I felt okay afterwards. I didn't feel like I had to go take a nap, and that was
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. And I feel like that's like the epitome almost of Cal-Mex cuisine.
Yeah.
So
And just want to say out there for anybody listening, it's so much better than Tex-Mex. I want to throw that challenge out there. We're going to kick
I
Tex-Mex's
know.
butt. Yeah,
I personally think that Cal-Mex is better than Tex-Mex, but I'm definitely
absolutely.
biased.
Yeah, no, totally. Um, can we talk a little bit about the recipe development process that you go through? You have some standout dishes that I want to talk about from the book, crispy shrimp and poblano tacos or the spicy honey glazed pork chops. What are some of the recipe development processes you go through creating the recipes?
Yeah, so for the shrimp tacos specifically, there's a traditional Mexican taco called tacos gobernador that I absolutely love. I get it anywhere I can find it whenever we're going to a Mexican restaurant. But that specific taco, it's usually fried. It's kind of like a mix between like a quesadilla and a taco, if you will.
Yeah.
So when it comes to something like that, it's like, I really love this dish, but how can I make this at home with the ingredients that I have that might be just a little bit better for you? So in this version, instead of it being fried, it's baked. And instead of using the specific type of cheese that they use that I can never pronounce,
Yeah.
I use Monterey Jack cheese that I have at home. So it's just kind of finding like those little simple switches that you can do that will make you feel good, but it's also something that you can easily get to, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Same with the pork chops. I got inspiration for that recipe actually from a restaurant that I went to that they had a, what was it? It was like a Chipotle pork chop with some kind of peach sauce or something. So
Mm.
again, it was really good. But at one of those more like upper scale or upscale Mexican restaurants. Um, so just getting that inspiration, coming back home, figuring out how can I make this, trying it a few different times, and the first couple times they did not go over very well. But then my husband actually mentioned doing something with honey because that would help with like the spice and the peach salsa, and it just all ended up working. So it's kind of a big collaboration of sorts when it comes to recipe development.
Yeah, I included that in the questions because I got to make that. I got to try that.
Oh,
I just happened to have all the ingredients and I was making pork chops, so it worked. It was kind of one of those, perfect storm things.
oh, I
And I
love
really
it.
liked it. I think that, and my son loved it. So I thought, we'll make this in the future because we really like
Yeah.
this. It'd be like a kind of a repeat thing for us. So I
Oh,
really
I love that.
like that quite a bit. Nice.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah. So what are some of your favorite flavor combinations that you use
Awesome.
throughout the cookbook?
I love sweet and spicy. Anything that is sweet and spicy, like with the pork chops, you have the chipotle or with with the peach salsa. Anything chipotle and honey. I use a lot of that in the cookbook. There's a spicy mango shrimp salad that has a little bit of the
Ooh,
sweetness from the from the mango and the spice on the shrimp. Like it's anything sweet and spicy, I love. And
nice.
I think after that is probably chimichurri. Anything with chimichurri. If you haven't had chimichurri, which I'm sure you have, but
Yeah.
if anyone else out there hasn't had chimichurri, it is so good. And I think I use probably three different variations of it in the book or so, because there's a bunch
Yeah.
of different ways you can make it. But those are probably my favorite flavors for sure.
Chimichurri is hot right now, and for good
Oh
reason.
yeah,
It's such a nice, fresh kind of flavor to things.
it really is. And you can put it on so many things too, not
Yeah.
just like a one thing.
Someone
Mhm.
asked, is there an ideal audience for the cookbook? Are there any specific dietary needs the cookbook addresses?
I wouldn't say there's any dietary needs in specific. I do have quite a few vegetarian recipes in there. I also, most of my recipes can easily be made dairy free too. If you are dairy free, my husband's dairy free, so I have a
Yeah.
lot of experience, I would say, in that side of things, knowing how to, or like which dairy-free cheeses to use or dairy-free cream or just things like that. Like it's really easy to like swap things out now, especially with all of the different products that we have. And I think I even touch on that in the beginning of the book. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Um, But honestly, just for anyone who's looking for just simple, easy to follow recipes, specifically that are probably good for summer, definitely would love this book, I would say.
I agree. I mean, because I try and do like at least two vegetarian meals per week, and this cookbook
Mhm.
really makes that so much easier because I
Mhm.
could go to the farmer's market, get some nice vegetables, and make some of the recipes here, and it's not really a burden. It's a nice thing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I love that.
Yeah. What are some of the tips you have for people who are cooking like me, who are at a busy work nights? You get home, and you just got to put out a meal for the family. Any tips for that kind of thing?
Oh, yeah. I know for me, I personally try to prep as much beforehand as I can, but I know I also work from home, so that might be a little bit easier for me to do. But if I know I'm going to be gone all day, or if we have plans or something, we'll usually try to make what we call bulk meals, which it could be something as simple as like our shredded beef that we make in the crock pot. It usually lasts for a couple of nights, and we can use that in a variety of different ways. So we can use it for tacos, we can make salads or burrito bowls, or add barbecue sauce and make sandwiches with it. So just kind of having those like go-to bulk meals that you know you can use for different things or even freeze, and then you can have it later. I think that just helps so much when you're super busy during the week.
Now, throughout the book, you mentioned fresh ingredients, and this is something that I know for a lot of people that cook with fresh stuff, it's a no-brainer. For but some people, it's a challenge. Do you have
Mhm.
any advice for readers who might be intimidated by using fresh produce in their cooking?
Yeah, actually, growing up, we didn't have a lot of fresh produce around. I remember having a lot of canned vegetables and things like that, or frozen vegetables even. And then,
Yeah, same.
right?
Yeah,
But one day my mom was like, "Nope, we're not doing this anymore." And she started looking up ways on how to kind of make them last longer, because I feel like that's everyone's biggest issue that I've talked to anyway, is that they just don't know how to prepare it or make it last a long time, and they don't want to go to the store every day because that's not fun
right.
and you don't have the time. So I think just knowing like a few tips on how you can like keep lettuce fresh or
Yeah,
keep veggies fresh. Like I use so many of them that she has taught me over the years. I don't know if you would like to hear any of them.
absolutely. Yeah,
um, yeah, like lettuce, for example. We'll usually, once we get it home, we'll cut off the ends, run it under water, put it in a plastic bag, and take all the air out of it and leave it in your refrigerator. If your
oh,
lettuce
nice.
is wilty in the refrigerator, like you notice after a couple of days it's looking a little limp, you can take it out of the refrigerator, cut off the ends again, put it in a small bowl with water, and just leave it on the counter for like 1 or 2 hours, and it'll crisp right back up. Which I didn't know
Nice.
that. When she taught me that one, it was like life changing.
Nice. Very good.
Same thing with like any vegetable, honestly. Broccoli, you can do that, just leave it in water, it'll crisp up. But just knowing these little tricks, I really feel like helps making cooking with fresh food so much easier.
I want to ask you too, what are some of your hopes for the impact of this Cal-Mex cookbook will have on home cooks?
I really hope that people just get that it's not, I don't want to say it's not hard to create easy, healthy recipes, but at the same time, like it's doable, it's easy. It doesn't have to be intimidating to make a healthy meal, but something that also tastes good. Because I feel like healthy meals or like trying to eat healthy or be better, it can be so negative to some people, and it can just sound really boring and just not flavorful. And it really doesn't have to be that way. And I really hope that that's what people get from this book, that you can make these really good for you, healthy, flavorful dinners with just like a few ingredients. And yeah.
So, the labor of the cookbook, is coming to an end, and you've got it coming out tomorrow. But now that you've done this one, do you have any plans for future cookbooks coming out?
I think maybe way later in the future. This one was great, and it's been a dream of mine to make a cookbook, and I love how it came out. We are just in a different area of our lives right now. We are expecting a little one next month.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah, that's a big deal. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I was like, maybe
Yeah.
not anytime soon,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
definitely in the future. I think I would really like to do another one. I don't know if it'll be Cal-Mex or not. It might be kind of fun to do a prequel to that
Nice.
or a
Yeah,
sequel, I guess that would be.
I want to say it looks really beautiful. Did you have any hand in the visual aspects of the cookbook? Because it's really lovely.
Oh, thank you. I did all the photography actually.
No way. Okay,
Yes, I did.
you're pretty good. Okay,
Oh,
that's
thank
impressive.
you. Oh my
I
gosh,
don't
that
I
makes so
don't know
much.
I don't know many cookbook authors who can say that and do as good a job as you do. You did a really great job with
Oh,
that, and
thank
it's
you.
really beautiful. Yeah, that's
Oh,
good stuff.
I'm a huge perfectionist when it comes to my pictures too, so that means so much to me.
Yeah, no, it shows. It shows.
Oh,
Well,
thanks.
Caitlin, congratulations on the book coming out tomorrow. For those of you listening, Cal-Mex Cookbook's going to be out tomorrow. We're going to have links to it in the bio. You can go right to it, and you could pre-order it today or order a copy tomorrow, and it'll be at all better bookstores. Caitlin, thank you for being on the podcast. I really love getting a chance to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
That's all the time we have for today on the Well-Seasoned Librarian. A big thanks to Caitlin Prettyman for sharing her passion for Cal-Mex cuisine in her new cookbook, Fast and Fresh Cal-Mex Cooking. Don't forget to grab your copy. It hits shelves tomorrow. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love to hear from you. Leave a review on your favorite podcasting platform and let us know what kind of quick and flavorful recipes you'd love to see featured next. For more delicious inspiration, follow Caitlin's culinary adventures on Kalefornia Kravings. You can find the link to that and her new book in the show notes. And get ready for some exciting upcoming episodes. In the coming weeks, we'll be delving into the world of award-winning food photography with Louis Victa, chilling out with the ghost chaser Amy Bruni, and taking a delicious bite of history with social media star Barry Enderwick of Sandwiches of History. You won't want to miss it. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time, I'll see you at the library.